All right, so I am here with Pastor Patrick Lynch. One of many episodes we're going to do in this Move to the Middle series, and this is obviously something me and you have talked about. I feel like I'm always on you about creating content.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we're finally doing it.
We're doing it.
And it's going to be called Move to the Middle. Share a little bit about your heart. You've been in this amazing series as of late. Build a relationship with your faith, build a relationship with people, build a relationship with your Bible. But the underlying core of that is really about building relationships to move to the middle with people. Just talk about your heart and your vision for this.
Yeah, a lot of the discussion, and you're 100% right. I mean, you and I have been talking about this. I would say we've had discussions surrounding this type of stuff for years. Mm-hmm. Yep. And yeah, I think what I was faced with is when I'm looking at society right now, and I'm looking at what we're facing in terms of just very binary approaches. People kind of have their camps.
Yeah.
They've posted up on their camps, and we've relinquished, I think, the freedom and the privilege of moving to the middle of the landscape, moving to the middle of the field, and just sitting down and having dialogue. Yeah. And it not being predicated on do I think you agree with me? Yeah. And it's not predicated on do I think I can win you over?
Right. Am I going to trick you into believing my
side?
No.
and I don't really feel like that's what we need socially right now.
Yeah.
I feel like the win socially, and you and I have talked about this, I feel like the win, and my hope is as we do these and we have more discussions, we're not going to bring solutions to some of, I think, the most difficult things that we're dealing with in society.
Right.
But I believe what we're doing is we're bringing pathways to solutions. And that's our dialogue. That's our ability to move to the middle, have some conversations, and out of that, some things will be birthed. Yeah. And I think it was just important that we sit down, and especially with our faith. So how does my faith, where's that middle ground? How does my faith intersect real life? Because I think it's easy for me to camp out in my Christian faith and my Christian camp.
Yeah.
And it's easy to get my head wrapped around all the things that are Christian-y and the Christian jargon and all that stuff. But then I walk out the door, and I also think our younger generations are facing this more and more, where they're going like, I get that. And my own children, like, when I walk out the door, Dad, how does my faith intersect in the middle of my life? And how do I deal with this?
Yeah.
And how do I have that dialogue?
And it seems like it's really about, the loving people, loving your neighbor as yourself.
Yeah.
Right. It's really about putting people in a place of honoring them as people.
Yeah.
Before honoring them for their political affiliations, their sexual orientation, whatever predisposition we're going to put before somebody, their religious affiliation, right? And saying, let's move towards seeking to understand and connecting.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for me, there's really, at the core, I think we're really good right now socially. I know, there's a very famous social scientist. She's amazing. Brene Brown talks about.
She has that really cool Netflix special, right?
Dude, yeah, she's
super dope,
unbelievable. She talks about vulnerability. Mm-hmm. It really impacted me a lot just listening and reading some of her stuff. And I think one of the most fascinating things that I found is that we gather mostly in society right now, not around things that we like about each other, but she talks about we gather around the common things that we dislike or hate. And so you and I might befriend each other because we just have a strong dislike for a political party or, whatever.
Yeah.
But what ends up happening from a community standpoint is that if I don't actually have a relationship with you based on something else, when you are struggling with something, I don't really find empathy for you. And you're left feeling lonely, although you're part of this quote-unquote tribe. You're part of a tribe that the commonality is what you dislike, not that you have found this common ground with one another as people.
Yeah.
So I think the first premise is, and you and I talked, and it's like, I want to make this really, as we have these dialogues, I do want to make some things very simple. And I would simply say, number one, let's just find a common ground with each other, that it's not a binary, like, okay, are you Republican, Democrat? Are you, pro-weed? I'm not.
Sure.
Are you pro-same-sex marriage? Am I not?
Sure.
Let's get out of those constructs and let's find another option and say, this is what we have in common.
Yeah.
We have our humanity in common. That you're breathing and you're bleeding and you have pains and you have successes. And how can I see myself in your human story?
Yeah,
that's our
good.
first premise. We have to find common ground in humanity, not on things that we dislike or even things that we like, to be honest with you.
Yeah. What is that like from a very tangible standpoint, like finding common ground as humans? What does that look like? What do you think the primary framework of that is? Because that's a very kind of a broad statement, you know what I mean? But like, where do we start in terms of finding common ground?
Yeah, I think number one is let's just if we were to whiteboard this, let's just say that humanity is the central focus. Like, we're all human, no matter what country we're born into, no matter. So that doesn't matter ethnically, it doesn't matter economically. We're all human, and for the most part, you were not born in the United States, but I think you would say that you're blessed to be here as an American.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel blessed to be an American, but that was a roll of the dice for you and I.
Yeah.
I mean that had nothing to do with, like, we didn't contrive that.
Yep.
So we could have just as easily been born into third world countries, and you were born into and if people don't know your story, but you were born into really tough circumstances that your family fled as refugees from Russia. And I think let's just whiteboard and say humanity is the centerpiece. Number one, I think we have to show value for one another, and the way we value one another is we put other people in front of ourselves. And I'm going to make this really simple. I'm a really competitive person, and so I like to win. But when I'm always trying to win, so if I'm trying to win the argument, if I'm trying to win you to my position, if I'm just trying to, like, I just want to win at everything. But and that's me, I'm highly competitive. But I think in general, what we do is we meet and we relate to people from a position of wanting to win.
Yeah, that's good.
But when we value other people, what we do is this is a hard statement to make. I don't have to win.
Yeah.
Simple.
Here's something real practical about that. You know me, like, I'm really into motivation and self-actualization, and like, you got to visualize it, you got to see it, you got to dig deep, right? And so I'm in this, I got asked by my buddy Aaron Simon to be an alternate in their basketball league. It's here at Corky Smith, San Marcos. And,
which you are a basketball fanatic.
Yeah, like that was my first career choice before I chose to be a artist. I was like, I'm gonna be a professional basketball player. So we're in this basketball league, and I play fairly regularly. Like, I tweaked my knee, had knee surgery. Now I'm back to playing fairly regularly. So at the San Marcos League, there's 7 divisions, and Division 7 is like, they're the guys out there with like jeans and sweatpants on, right? They're just terrible, right? And then like Division 1 is like, oh, this dude just had a tryout with the Lakers, right? Like, they're ballers, they're on, he played college ball, Division 1 college ball, right? So it's a wide spectrum, and so we are in Division 4, right? And that's a pretty high competitive division. Like, I walked up and I saw my buddy playing, and we were talking, and he's like, oh, I'm in Division 6. And I was like, wow, you're pretty good. You're in Division 6. Well, we're in Division 4. So our record this year is I'm not just an alternate. I'm officially like a player now on the team.
You're on the roster.
I'm on the roster officially. And our record this year is 1-5.
Oh, yeah.
And those 5 all by 20 points.
Oh, yeah.
Plus, like, blown out.
Yeah.
And I was talking to Aaron yesterday, and I was like, man, like, like, there's just a degree of, like, no matter how much self-talk I have, no matter how much positivity, no matter how much motivation, like, we're just not going to win at this division.
No.
Like, it's just not going to happen.
You're gonna be in Division 5 next season.
Yeah, no, literally. And that's what happens. Half the season, you play 5 games.
Yeah.
And then...
So they,
6
games.
They restructure. They say, "Oh yeah, you went 1-5.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go and put you Division 6 or
Yeah.
Division 5. We're gonna move you down, and they're gonna take teams that crushed in that division, move them up.
Yeah.
They do that, and so when you talk about winning, like, we can't win. Like, we're physically incapable of winning of these teams, and so it really goes back to 1, are we having fun?
Yeah.
2, are we playing with class?
Yeah.
And even as simple as, like, I foul somebody and I'm like, I'm quick to be like, hey man, like, my bad, bro, I didn't mean to bump you that hard. Like I'm just super nice. I'm super encouraging to my team, because it really goes back to, like, we're not gonna win.
That's
like
right.
like I can go out there and shoot 100 jump shots
Yeah.
every day. I could warm up longer, but
Yeah.
the truth is, like, we're getting blown out by 20 points. We won one game that went into double overtime. And that team also got blown out by 20 against every other team. in
Yeah,
our
so you're
division.
both Division 5 now.
Both division. Yeah, we're both going down a division. But to go back to your point of, like, it's not about winning
Right.
all the time. I want to win. I like winning. I'm competitive. But this is showing me that, like, man, it's not about winning. It's about enjoying the process. Do I really love
Yeah.
basketball enough, and do I really love people enough
Yes.
to go out there
Come on,
and
yeah.
just play and have a good time?
Yeah, dude, man, that is great. I think you hit it on the head. And I find right now, and again, you can read statistically and you can read studies, I'll just talk as Americans, we're losing our joy.
Yeah.
We're losing our joy in life. Not only that, we're losing our joy because life mostly is based on how we relate to things.
Yeah.
So we're
Yeah.
losing our joy in relationship.
Right.
And I think to your point, when I say I'm going to value you, and that means I have to say to myself, like, I don't always have to win.
Yep.
When I take this idea of having, so you were forced to take the idea of winning off the table.
Yeah.
Like, it's
Yeah,
not an
it's
option,
not
right?
happening.
Non-option. So it's almost like if you take that option away to
Yeah.
a certain degree and
Yeah.
go, look, this is not about winning. And you're just able to enjoy, and you're not worried about that now.
Yeah.
I'm going to approach the court of life
Yeah.
far differently.
Totally different. Yeah.
I'm gonna be way more generous with people. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna put them in front of me easily because I'm not trying to get to the front of the grocery line.
Yep.
I'm not counting their items in the basket
Yeah.
and like, why are you in the express lane?
Yeah.
I'm not agitated, at the traffic trying to get over here to record this podcast
Yeah.
because I'm like, I'm trying to get somewhere.
Yeah.
But I think that's a great point.
I'm complimenting the other team.
Yeah.
Like, someone scores on me, and I'm like, "Oh, bro, that's a good shot, bro."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they're probably just like, "What?" You know?
But see, yeah. Well, but here's what's great about that. So number one, let's value people. So we've centralized humanity. Number one, let's value people. Let's take this option of like, okay, we're not trying to win. Like, I'm not trying to
Yeah.
win you over or dominate you.
Yeah.
And what you just said is you're complimenting the other team. What you're doing is you're proactively closing the gap, which would be really, I think, one of the probably the third thing I would say is we need to be willing to close the gap, but not close the gap as a reaction. So you're not waiting for the other team to compliment you
Yeah.
because they feel bad for you because they just
Right.
blew you
Right,
out.
right.
You're proactively, like, you're literally in all senses of the word, not figuratively, you're on the court and you're proactively stepping into the middle, you're moving to the middle, and you're proactively valuing other people and closing the gap, and you're complimenting the other team,
Yeah.
not as a reaction to anything that they did. When most
Right.
of life, what we do, it's almost 100% reactionary.
Right. Right.
So what has that political party done for me? What has that segment of society done for me? What has that person done for me? How well has my spouse loved me? How well are my children obeying me? Dad of 7 kids. I'm looking at my kids like what have you done for me? Like I'm like an ATM machine, but what have you done for? It's like when we close the gap proactively, and this is the important part, because what it does is it shows your sense of vulnerability and willingness. And that vulnerability, and I'll reference Brene Brown again, is it takes strength and courage. The
Yeah.
strongest, most courageous thing that you can do is proactively close the gap and move to the middle.
That's good.
So
Yeah, that's good.
I think if we could get those things on lock, what we're gonna find, I think what it will lead to is this, and I think this is what my hope. I think our hope
Yeah.
in having this dialogue
Yeah.
on a monthly basis
Yeah.
is, as we have this dialogue, this is the framework. So anybody watching or anybody listening, this is the framework that I'm proposing that we're going to use here. But I'm proposing that you try it in your own personal life.
Yeah.
Because the byproduct will be this, and I'm going to be really vulnerable as we talk about these things. And before we started this, you and I were laughing because I said, the byproduct of this is just a higher sense of empathy.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the vulnerability on my part. I am not naturally an empathetic person.
Mm-hmm.
I don't carry a lot of mercy. It's not high in my range of gift sets.
Yeah.
But the truth is, it's not an excuse to stay in my camp, and it's not an excuse to stay on the sideline.
Yeah.
That's the very reason why I need to press in with this. And I need to say, I need to understand, like, we are all human. I need to understand that I need to value you more, and I need to close the gap proactively, because the byproduct will be we may not win each other over in terms of our argument, but we'll win each other over relationally. And I'll be able to love you, not from across the table even, but that empathy to be able to see where you're sitting. And I may not fully even understand how you feel. I may not even fully agree, but what I will have is I will have a heart that is able to bear a burden that you're bearing. And I think that closes the gap. And that's why it's important that we have these discussions and we move to the middle.
And just to be practical, like when you say discussions, like we're going to be talking about different topics that I think people have questions about.
They do.
I think
how their faith intersects life.
Yeah. And so can you kind of give a foreshadowing of some of the things you want to talk about in the coming months on this platform?
Yeah, I think so. So one of the ones, it's like you and I are both into fitness. So I know that you and I want to have a conversation surrounding like faith and fitness. And what does that mean? I mean, we talk about a lot of things that that we need to be as Christians, you know, as followers of Jesus. But one of the things as Americans I feel like we don't talk about is like our temple, our body. Are we stewarding what we've been given? Are we fit? And you and I both probably had times of our life of not being fit and being more fit.
Yeah, we both. There's a fat Ruslan photos floating around.
There's a fat Pat. Oh man, we'll share some of those photos for people. They'll get a laugh at that. I would love to have discussions, you know, centering around big topics that I think people are inquisitive about, that I get asked about. You and I have discussed in private, at least, is, you know, where does faith sit in terms of use of, let's say, medicinal marijuana? What about our sexuality? What about women in ministry? That's a big topic. You know, I've had people really try to pin me down on that and say like, hey, what is it? Can or can't? And we're oftentimes, and I think the point is, and those are some of the topics we're going to talk about. But I think the point is that most of the time people want to pin down, where are you? And the reason they want that is because they want to compartmentalize, and then it maybe presents their ability to argue something. And I'm saying, I understand that the conversations are good, but the point of the dialogue is that we're going to be able to close the gap. So let's not major on things that I don't think are major. But they're controversial items. Specifically, as you and I have discussed, they're controversial in houses of faith. Where people are conflicted and they don't know how. I love Jesus, I'm a follower of Jesus, but I have friends or I have family members, or I have these tensions in my own life. How do these two intersect in the middle? And those are things that you and I are going to discuss.
And it's one, because I have questions for you on terms of like, hey, where do we stand as a church? And I think even having these conversations, like, it's not about trying to put like a nice ribbon on it and like package it in like a perfect answer. It really is about the conversation and understanding the nuanced perspectives of a lot of these things. And that's something that, unfortunately, because we live in a very polarizing, very binary society, that there isn't a ton of nuance. You know, and so to discuss some of these topics that I know people have questions about and say, well, where's the nuance on fitness and personal responsibility versus, like, you know, somebody that's working a lot or is living at the poverty level? Like, where's the nuance of that? You know, where's the nuance of women in ministry and all these different topics that I think I'm curious about. And I don't think the goal is going to be, here's the official movement church position. Here are just some ideas, and this is kind of where we lean, and this is kind of what we believe, right?
I think you're 100% right. And again, I said earlier, I don't think so. If you're listening, if anyone listens to this, to think we're getting resolve 100%, like this is exactly the answer and solution to all these things. That is not what this is. I don't feel, honestly, as a human, I think a lot of the things that we feel today are probably rock solid. I have a sneaking suspicion that I'm going to stand before Jesus, and a lot of those things, I'm going to get a good laugh out of him. And I think that they're probably not going to be as I thought they seemed. And so this isn't like, we're not solving the world's issues, and we're not. And this is important, and you and I have talked about this before. You and I aren't looking to alleviate and solve the tension. But we're looking to step into the tension of the middle. And we're looking to just say, we're willing to have the talk. And if we need to bring other parties in and say, hey, look, this seems very odd to have two seemingly opposing socially or opposing from a cultural standpoint, people sitting having this conversation. That's the point.
Yeah. Yep.
We're not going to solve everything, but what we're going to do is we're going to seek first to understand, and we're going to be willing, we're going to be vulnerable to have the discussion.
That's dope, man. I'm
Yeah.
excited. So we're gonna start them. This is the first one.
Yeah.
We're gonna do at least once a month.
At least once a month.
If I got a little pool, guys, it's gonna be more than once a month.
Root has a lot. You're like, dude, I have a lot of questions. Because once you get me here, you're like, can we just? I have a lot of questions for you.
Yeah, no, I really do. I really do. Yeah.
So yeah.
Way cool, man. Well, make sure you guys are subscribed and following Pat Lynch Vokes on all platforms.
Yep.
Any final thoughts?
No, I'm looking forward to it. I know that we're gonna be putting this on our YouTube page. We're also gonna have this on a podcast. So no matter what platform anyone's listening on or watching on, they can catch it. And then I think also as you listen, as you watch, if there's things that you're thinking about that you're dealing with in your own life, and your own tension of faith and how life intersects that, or things that are going on around you, I know that you and I both would love to have individuals,
questions
and ideas. We would love to have those discussions.
Dope.
So yeah, chime in.